For me, rubs pack the biggest flavor and the flavor's immediate, but when it comes to marinades, like I said, this is my favorite. I love it because it's simple and it starts just like this. In the old processor, we're gonna take some oregano. The fresher, the better. You can use dried, especially if you're gonna let it set, because the dried will start to eventually plump back up and not be the sawdust in the jar that it usually is. So we're gonna take some oregano. You don't mind if there's a seed or a little bit of the stem in there, but try just to get the leaves. Then we're going to go with some fresh thyme, and the same thing. And here's the cool part about thyme is this stuff comes off so easy. Basically just pull it against the way it grows, and you can see just how fast it pops off. Throw some of that in there. And the measurements here are really just going to be to how much volume you're doing. And for this instance, we're doing just about a pint of the sour orange. And when it comes to sour orange, that really is the key ingredient here for Mojo, and you can buy it pre-made. They sell it at a lot of the grocery stores now, but if you have to go looking for it and you can't find it and you're in a pinch, I'll make sure to put the recipe online for how to make it. But essentially, it's orange, grapefruit juice, lemon, and some lime, and I'll put the amounts on there. So with the herbs in place, we're going to add the sour orange, and we're going to add some peppercorns. I got about a dozen or so in there. And then we're going to add the garlic, and this is really what makes Mojo Mojo, some good garlicky aftertaste. And then some salt, and for about every head of garlic you want about a teaspoon or so of salt. Now most Mojo recipes don't include this. This is oil. This is actually a citron oil, so it's got a little bit of a lemon flavor to it. And the reason I'm going to use it is, well, chicken just doesn't have a lot of fat to it. So if I don't have the fat in it, that means this is going to let the fat out, the chicken will, and you'll end up with a dry chicken. Into the processor, and it's time to take it to the disco. And voila, right now it looks a little frothy. All of that will settle down here as it sits for a couple of minutes, but you see it's got the green, and if you look at it through the side, you see that it's got all the chunks. Once you make a big batch of it, like this is what it looks like. And you can see it still has the green, it still has the chunks, and now we've got our chicken that has been marinating in there. And when it comes to a marinade, you gotta be careful when you're doing ones that have citrus, because citrus does the cooking. Think of ceviche, for instance. So if you let it go in there for a long period of time, even though it's not a lot of citrus, you could cook it. And by a lot of time, I mean anything that's going to take it over, say, 12 or maybe 16 hours. For this, I've had it in there probably a good 8 hours, so the chicken's really got that flavor penetrated all the way through. The meat and the skin are going to hold the flavor. Now, before we get to putting the chicken on the grill, let me show you how I prepared the chicken in order to get it to fit in this, and not only that, to give it a big, bold flavor. If you have a rotisserie, you can keep the chicken whole, but a lot of grills don't have the attachments for the rotisserie, so I like to do it half style. And here's what you do. With a chicken that I've rinsed out, cleaned, and kind of patted down with a little bit of salt, what I want to do is starting from the back to the front. So this is the back. Remember, the breast would be the top, and we're going to the backbone here, so that's that big broad spot. It comes with a little tail. All the chickens do. You want to grab that tail just to the edge of it. As soon as you hit the first bone is right where you want to be, and then push the knife right against those bones. The bones are pretty thin through this area, so it allows the knife to go right through. Half of it's already done. Now inside the chicken, if you give it a little push, you'll see where it's already started to crack. That's the keel bone. We're going to put the knife right into the keel bone, and then we're going to break it, and we're going to slice it, spin the chicken on that same slice mark, right down the keel plate. We're going to slice all the way through, and now we've got ourselves 2 halves of chicken. All right, let's get our grill ready, and it's always good to have insurance. We've done this before on the show, but I've got a piece of paper towel that I've soaked in oil, and I'm going to just take it, and I'm going to grease all the way across my grates so that I help to ensure that I don't have too much of a sticky mess. Being that the citrus is in there, that means that there's some sugar in there. Sugar caramelizes, it gets sticky, and you could end up with a mess. Also, trying to control my mess a little bit, let me grab my towel here. I'm going to put that on the side of my grill. Chicken on that, and that way if there's any drips, it's been contained, it's easy to clean up, and you don't end up with a bunch of the chicken bad stuff on the grill. Now I always go first, meat side down, skin side up, and that's the sound you want right there. You want the searing of the meat. Same thing on this side, meat side down, And now, you can see we're getting some char marks on the bottom of the skin. The skin is also starting to change colors and just get a little bit crisp, which means this would probably be a pretty good time to roll it over, because I do want the skin to not only have the flavor of the mojo, but get a little crisp, get those char marks, and, well, basically have that flavor of barbecue. Keep cooking, chickens. You can tell you're starting to get close to done when the skin is splitting, and also, oh yeah, we're getting some nice char marks on the skin on the outside. Listen, every once in a while you'll get these flare-ups because there is a lot of fat in chicken, and people have these fancy squirt bottles and everything. You don't need all that. You need, well, a brown bottle. Doesn't have to be brown necessarily. Just put some water in it, and with your thumb you can direct it and put out even the nastiest of flames that may try to spark up. And the best part about this bottle, well, it's getting it empty. There's a couple ways to tell when your chicken is done. The safest is always with one of these, an instant read thermometer. And with the chicken, you want to go into the thickest part, so we're going to go right into the thigh. And what we're looking for with this chicken here, as we stab that in, is we want that needle to race right on up to, it's okay if it stops at, but we want it to get to at least 160 degrees, because if we let that sit for about 10 minutes, that carryover cooking is going to push it over to the 165, and we know that we're out of the danger zone. That's one way that you can do it, and it is the safest way. The other way is the chicken will tell you itself when it's done, and that is when you grab it by the thigh, it will separate itself just like that from the breast portion. Basically, it cooks the fat right in between it. And the same one here, this one's already started to fall apart just as it sat on the grill. So we know that those two pieces are also done. The only thing that we have to do now, cut them up into bite-sized pieces, plate it, and get ready for mojo with some Mojo. And voila, there it is. It's charred on the outside. You can tell that it's been on the grill. The chicken is crispy on the outside, nice, moist, and juicy on the inside, and that's thanks to the mojo with the Mojo. Simple ingredients, easy to do. It does take some time to let that flavor penetrate, but I think that if you mix up your sour orange with some garlic, maybe a little kick with some cayenne for some culinary nonsense, you too will be saying, when it comes to chicken, mojo with the Mojo, there is none better.